Well, we got some coaching news for Inter Miami a little sooner than we thought we would. The reports are by Fabrizio Romano and Marco Merlo. Either way, that the report is that Javier Mascherano will be the next Inter Miami manager. This moved very quickly. I didn't expect this to happen as fast as it did, especially because Tata just what did he announce his exit was it Monday. This thing moves very very quickly. Um, Let me see if I can find the original report because I'm going to read it out. Okay, well, Fabrizio Romano also said earlier, Inter Miami managing owner Jorge Mas on Leo Messi's contract expiring in 2025. I fully expect to see Messi playing in our new stadium in 2026. So obviously that's a good sign. They wanted to get a manager who would make sure that he sticks around um, after 2025 because they really need him to come here for or to be here in 2026 during the playoff. So his original report was Javier Mascherano will be the new head coach of Inter Miami, as CL Merlo reports. Agreement done for the Argentine head coach, who always had a special friendship with Lionel Messi. Documents being prepared. And then he said, let's see, I think he had a more recent update about the agreement. Javier Mascherano's contract as new Inter Miami head coach will be valid for the next 3 years. Well, this is definitely an interesting hire, but before we get into it, make sure you like the stream down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We are less than 320 subscribers away from 5,000. We're growing like crazy. We're gaining a lot of momentum because of your help and support. So I appreciate it. Make sure you like the stream down below. Hit the little bell notification so you never miss any of my emergency live streams like the one that we're doing right now. But wow. This is an interesting hire because Javier Mascherano has a great resume as a player, right? He played at Liverpool. He played at Barcelona. He played at the highest level for close to 11 years. He played at West Ham. So maybe 11 years in Europe. He played for some very, very great teams. He's only 40 years old. But the main concern I have is while his pedigree as a player is off the charts, his resume as a manager is lacking. He's very very new to the managerial game. He got hired by Argentina in December of 2021 as the Argentine under 20 team. He coached them at the Olympics. I don't know how many. Let's see. So he's only coached 22 matches as a first team, or not even a first team manager, just as a manager in general. 13 wins, 1 draw, 8 losses. Now, we all knew that they were going to hire a coach that would have a relationship with Messi, right? That was going to be something that the box needed to be checked. I just thought there was better options as far as checking those boxes, right? I mean, Javier Mascherano has less experience than Thierry Henry. I made a video last night, and it's completely out the window now, that Thierry Henry would be on that list. And I had Mascherano, obviously, and I had Xavi. But Thierry Henry, even though he's had some coaching deficiencies, he's got more first-team experience than Mascherano. So this is a huge gamble. Like I said earlier, or in the live stream with Tata Martino about his firing, this is a huge gamble because they have to win an MLS Cup during Messi's tenure. MLS is a weird league that takes time to adjust to. I can't remember who I heard say this recently. Maybe it was Alejandro Moreno on ESPN FC, but he was talking about how even Xavi would struggle because it's a weird league you have to adjust to. Well, Javier Mascherano is not only adjusting to a new league, he's adjusting to being a first-team manager that he has never done before. And it's going to be a difficult adjustment period because Major League Soccer is like no other. Now, that doesn't mean it's a great league. I'm just saying it is a unique league that it's hard to really adjust to in your first year. It's going to take some time for him to really adapt. And obviously, he's going to have a very good team at his disposal. I'll be curious to see who he'll be able to recruit. Now, one of the things I do like about his hire is that I can't remember who had mentioned this originally, but the South American pipeline is very important. for Miami to continue. If they had hired Xavi, that pipeline would be gone. But now that they've hired someone like Javier Mascherano, who is coaching the under 20 Argentine national team, he has a lot of connections, which is good. So they will have a lot of options and people that they can bring in here. I'm curious what he thinks about Toto Alvarez. I'm curious what he thinks about Federico Redondo. I'm curious what he thinks about some of these guys. Elon Don says, let's go. Damien says, how do you feel about the hire? I'll give you a grade in a minute. I'll give you a grade on what I think about this hire in just a minute. Lunch Special Geo says, LMAO. Inter Miami going to fail again next year. Francisco Garcia says, name of the series. Who's the boss? Messi. They think getting all the homies together will fix everything. I don't think it's going to fix everything, but I do think that they wanted someone who Messi would be comfortable with, because I just read what Jorge Mas said. If you guys are new into the stream, he said Messi's contract is through 2025. We want him to be back. We think he will be back in 2026 to open our new stadium. I'm just skeptical because Javier Mascherano hasn't had the first team experience. He's going from Argentine under 23 and under 20 coaching to coaching probably the most attractive job in North America. So and also too, Tata Martino just broke the MLS record for most points because he's a seasoned vet in MLS and he's a seasoned vet coach. I'm not expecting Mascherano to have that type of success out of the gate. I think he's going to struggle a little bit, but I think he could be a very good coach. Look, Tata Martino got fired because his shortcomings in the MLS Cup playoffs. Mascherano's got a very low bar to reach when it comes to that, because as long as he makes it out the first round, he's already done better than Tata Martino. So I'll be curious to see how he does in this job. I'm curious to see who he wants to keep, who he wants to get rid of, because he's got teammates on this team. He's got Busquets, he's got Alba, he's got Messi and Suarez. All these guys he played with for years. Brad says you can't fix a problem by throwing money at it. Just look at what's happening to Man City. Just my 2 cents. Unknown Revival says, I think the hire is pretty realistic. The Xavi speculation hire seems pretty silly in retrospect. I think the Xavi hire would have been a nice addition and would have made sense because Messi's only going to be here for 2 more years. So Xavi would have only been here for 2 years. He could have left and then went to Man City when Pep left. I thought that he would have probably been the heir for that. It would have made sense as a short-term stint to help get this thing back on tracks. Francisco says, just watch the various Argentinian football shows talking about Mascherano. Many are surprised but happy to have a new U20 coach. Well, that is not a good sign. If they're happy to get rid of him, that's not a good sign. I don't know what his success was for the under 20 team. I don't know how they finished at the Olympics. Let me try to find it and see. Okay, here we go. Okay, so they got eliminated in the round of 16 at the World Cup. That's not good. They finished 9th. And they finished 8th place in the South American Championship U20. Yeah, that's not promising, honestly. That does not look good. I mean, this just feels like a buddy hire, which, like I said, we knew that they were going to be someone with a connection to Messi, but they just had so many better options they could have hired. I do think Xavi would have came here for 2 years, and Xavi is won the La Liga with a very limited spending options because of how bad they are financially, and this feels a little underwhelming. What would you guys give this out of a 1 through 10? What would you give this hire? What would you guys rate this hire 1 through 10? Hope Mascherano proves this wrong. This is a sort of Mikey Veras-esque hire. Luke says 3.5. Damian Guzman says 5. Francisco Garcia says 1. For Messi, it's a 10. Flavio Canuto says 6. Sammy says 4. Yeah, there's a lot of mid grades on this hire. Oh man, it feels like this is a huge risk for them, because if this fails, we're going to know why it fails, right? We're going to Alex Cruz says 4. So we're going to know why this hiring fails ultimately. If it does, it's because he doesn't have experience. And maybe some of you think that a team like Miami has so much talent that it really doesn't, you don't really need a star coach to really get them over the edge. Now, Tata made some bad decisions in his playoff series. That's the reason why they got bounced. Some late adjustments, trying things a little too late in game 3. But Javier Mascherano is going to have a very short leash as far as he's going to be expected to win out of the gate. This is Messi's last guaranteed year. So I just think they're putting a lot of pressure or a lot of expectations on a guy like this. And I don't know if he's going to be able to meet those expectations. I'm going to be curious to see who is in charge of player acquisitions now, because Chris Henderson looks like he's going to Atlanta. I don't know how much he had and how much involvement he had to begin with. And Tata Martino is a good scout of players, minus Toto Alvarez. He's the one who scouted Diego Gomez, and Diego Gomez was a very good signing, who's going to Brighton, it seems, for a lot more than what they paid for him. So he was very good identifying talent. It's just he couldn't put it all together when it really mattered. Francisco Garcia says, Tata is a good coach. He is not a modern coach. Mascherano hasn't coached professionally. Yeah, that's a huge concern. His first gig is a first team manager is with Miami. Now, Scaloni, I don't think that Scaloni had much. I don't think he really had any managerial experience outside of, did he have any managerial experience at all? So he was the former U20 coach. So he had never coached the first team either. And he's been very good with Argentina, obviously. And his record with he only coached 7 games, but I'm assuming he was a better under 20 coach than what Mascherano's been. But, he's turned out to be really well. I don't know if you can replicate that twice. I remember some people some people were having a crazy idea about Scaloni being the coach of both teams. That was never going to happen. But I don't know if he has a better playing resume, obviously, Javier Mascherano does, but that doesn't always translate. Are they hoping that Mascherano could be the next Scaloni? Maybe, but that's very, very risky. Luke says too risky since we have no time to waste. A lot of pressure for a brand new coach. I agree. And that's the thing. It's like he's going to have, MLS is not an easy league. There's a lot of travel, a lot of condensed scheduling. He's going to have to coach this team in the Champions League in 2025. He's going to have to coach them at the FIFA Club World Cup. He's going to have to also try to win them an MLS Cup. There's just a lot of pressure that's going to be on Javier Mascherano, and he's never done it at this level before. Now, like I said, Xavi has done it, so that would have been a better hire, in my opinion. Hear me out. Mascherano doesn't make it halfway through the season. I don't know if he'll be that bad. I don't know if he'd be that bad, honestly. I think he'll definitely get the full season. Scaloni didn't have, but he was assistant coach for Sampaoli. Francisco says, and in the Argentinian national team coach. Yeah, no, exactly. I know he's in that. I know that, but he was this. Okay, I got you now. I got you. Alvarez, see you. Yeah, right. He'll be gone. He'll be gone. I think Toto Alvarez will definitely be gone. He just hasn't lived up to the standard that they expect. He is 20 years old. He'll go on loan. They need more consistent defending. That was one of their downfalls, was their defending was terrible. And we will see if Javier Mascherano can get this defense more in check. Obviously, he played a lot, mostly as a center back, and he played as a defensive midfielder as well. We'll see if maybe his expertise can get things back in check. This will fail. Too much pressure for an inexperienced coach. There is a lot of pressure. Like I said, this is the biggest job probably in North America, and you're tasking a guy who has never coached in for a first team. And based on what some of you have said and some of the reporting, it seems like a lot of people think he underwhelmed as the Argentine U20 coach. And he's being tasked to lead this Inter Miami team to a championship, to win. I don't think this new manager is it. Unknown Revival says, do you think Messi had a part in this hire? I think he did. Yeah, I mean, it's his friend. Like, they were never going to hire someone who had no ties to Messi. That was never going to happen. They wanted to have a coach who Messi's comfortable with. They wanted to have a coach that he approved. They wanted to have a coach who knows a lot of these guys that they're going to respect. They needed a manager that people were going to respect. Some people were saying, like Jim Curtin, why don't they hire the former Philadelphia Union manager? That was never going to happen. For one, because he's not bilingual. Number two, they need a coach that people in the team actually know. Like, no disrespect to Jim Curtin, he's a great manager, especially for Major League Soccer. But Messi, Alba, Busquets, Suarez, they don't know who he is. They're not going to respect him the same way that they do with Mascherano, the way that they did with Martino. Although Martino was losing some respect there towards the end. At Xavi, they were never going to respect them to that level. And they needed someone who could come in here and command the dressing room, someone that will hold them accountable, which I think Mascherano will do. But like, what are his tactics? Like, what is his formation? What system does he even play? I mean, is he just, it kind of just feels like he's a default manager, anybody but Tata. Damian Guzman says, who do you think that what players will we save and get picked up by San Diego? So I have to look at the expansion rules because they change all the time. I think there used to be 2 players a team could pick from one team. I think it's only 1 now. So once you're 1 player selected, you're done. I don't know how many players they can protect. I think they used to be able to protect 8 players. I would expect them to probably not protect Toto Alvarez, not protect Robert Taylor, players like that. And they could easily be picked up by San Diego FC. What is your thoughts? Good hire or bad hire? I think it's okay. So here's my rating on the hire, 1 through 10. I'm going to give it a 5. Actually, I don't want to be offensive. I'll give it a 4. There's just too much uncertainty with this job or with this coach. Great resume as a player, a lot of uncertainty as a coach. Hasn't really shown enough to really prove otherwise. And this job is just so big, and they're depending on the new guy to really lead them to a new level that they haven't reached, which is an MLS Cup. I just think it's going to be a tall task for this guy, Javier Mascherano, to do this. Never coaching a first team. He's going to have to deal with injuries, older players, bringing players in, crowded schedule. It's going to be a tall task. And you want a seasoned vet or someone who's done it before. I'm going to say 4. I don't think it's going to probably turn out as good as you would like. I mean, it's going to be interesting. I guess it's possible. It's just going to be tough for him to adjust to Major League Soccer. I really think it's going to be tough for him to adjust. Is it too late to go back? Like, is it possible for Miami to change their direction? I think it is. I think it's already agreed to, and there should probably be an official announcement sooner than later. The Argentinian sportscasters aren't sure what Mascherano play tactics. Yeah, I mean, what's his formation? What's his style? I mean, it's unknown, right? That's not necessarily a good thing. I mean, maybe he'll just go with the tiki-taka style, like the Barcelona 4-3-3, heavy or possession-based attacking style. Maybe that's what he'll do. I mean, that's kind of like what Tata did, right? With a few adjustments. Francisco Garcia says they say he easily changed the roster from one game to another. So you're saying that, like, he was heavily rotating players? Like, are you saying that he was able to perform with different players? Their priority is defense first. Yeah, their priority needs to be defense first. Their defense is terrible. They They need to honestly move off of several guys. They need a new goalkeeper, in my opinion. They need to move off of Toto Alvarez. They need to get a more seasoned veteran who's more reliable. David Martinez, they do not need to buy him from River Plate. They need to do better than him. Christoph definitely needs to go. The ancient one, Christoph, he definitely needs to go. And Wingett, Cello Wingett, they need to get rid of him. He wasn't good enough for what they need. So they could possibly have 3 new people in the back line by season's beginning. They could have 2 new center backs and a new right back, and hope maybe even a new goalkeeper. Because I think Ustari would be a better goalkeeper than Drake Callender at this point, at least for 1 year, right? I mean, he's a little older, but I think he just brings more stability than Drake. Drake kind of lacks confidence, and I just think he's too erratic sometimes. They definitely need to get a new goalkeeper one way or the other, and I think they need to try to convince Busquets to take a pay cut, because he's a defensive midfielder is not worth $10 million. It's just not. Between Messi, Busquets, Suarez, and Mascherano, they will coach. I mean, you definitely have the players to subsidize that, right? You can't do the tiki-taka with that defense, but it is too late to change this decision because Miami hasn't posted anything. I think it is too late. Yes, I think it's already agreed to. MLS is a starter league for coaches. It is a starter league for coaches. And look, I'm not saying that a first-time coach can't succeed, especially in MLS, but the problem is the expectations of this team are greater than what a normal first-team manager has to go through. They're expecting them to win an MLS Cup this coming season. That is why Tata Martino is no longer the manager. So Javier Mascherano has got to deal with the MLS Cup. He's got to deal with coming off of a record-breaking season where they're going to expect him to do just as good. He's got to deal with the Champions League. He's got to deal with the FIFA Club World Cup. There's just a lot of stuff he's going to have on his plate in his first year, and he's going to need a lot of help. I'll be curious to see who he keeps on or who he hires as his first staff. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea to keep Javier Morales and maybe even promote Federico Higuain from the second team to the first team, because they both have experience in this league. You will never win if Callender is your goalkeeper, no matter who you put on that team. I agree. Callender's just too erratic. He's too inconsistent to be Miami's goalkeeper. Mr. says it's a riskier appointment. I'm assuming you meant riskier appointment than Xavi. Would have been apart from working with the Argentina youth. He's unproven. He might be able to bring in some of the Argentina youth. Yeah, and I said that earlier, that they probably wanted to coach with a connection to this that has the South American pipeline, because that's where, if you look, I mean, they have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 players from South America on their team. 14. Half their team is South American. So they want to keep that pipeline going to get some of the young talent from South America, because it's obviously, good value, and there's some young promising players from there. Very good. So they want to keep that going. If they had Xavi, it probably would have been harder to recruit some of these players that have as good as Xavi is as a player and the people he knows, he just doesn't have any connections in South America. New goalkeeper coming if it's Javier. Yeah, I think that I wouldn't be surprised to see them sign like a young Argentine goalkeeper, maybe one that's has a connection with him on the under-20 team. Let's see who's on the current roster. I could see them going for like a young goalkeeper. Leandro Bray. Barely any plays for 4 appearances for Boca Juniors. Someone like that. Maybe give someone like that a chance at goalkeeper, or to come in here and compete with Drake Callender, something like that happen. So is Miami the only team people talk about? No, but I mean, they definitely are a very popular topic because of who's on their team, where they're located at, and just all the news that they normally make. I mean, hiring a team at Miami is a big deal, just like hiring a or hiring a player or a coach at Barcelona or Madrid's a big deal. So Inter Miami is so annoying. I mean, I guess I, I I don't know why you feel that way, but I know that a lot of people do. Maybe it's just because of the coverage. Soccer Daddy says, I see dead people. We're going to go for about 5 more minutes, and then I have to have a heart out and about at the 32-minute mark. But make sure you like the stream down below if you haven't already and subscribe to the channel. We're 320 subscribers away from 5,000. We're going to hit that by MLS Cup final day with your guys' help. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already and hit that little bell notification so you never miss any of my videos and these emergency live streams. So is Antoine going to LAFC soon? I think he is. I'm not sure if it's going to be this winter. That's a possibility, but he will no later than the summer. He will be an LAFC player. Francisco Garcia says, like the stream, people. Yes, please. Appreciate it. Appreciate the shout, Francisco. I'm going to give Javier Mascherano a chance. Like I said, I want to see what staff he brings on. I think when Tata Martino failed in the first round against Atlanta United, a team that had a lot of players gone that they sold, their best players, it's hard to get much lower than that in the playoff setting, right? Obviously not making the playoffs would have been bad, but as far as making the playoffs, it's about as bad as it gets. Javier Mascherano has a low bar to set, or has a low bar to meet based on that. But the expectations are still in MLS Cup. The players in the locker room are gonna respect him. Is he going to be able to develop these players? Is he going to be able to get the most out of his players? I think there's going to be a lot of turnover on this roster. This was a Tata Martino roster, and I can't remember what the name of the guy is, but there's apparently a former Barcelona staffer, like in management or like the general manager, who's going to take over for Chris Henderson when he leaves. So he's going to be working hand in hand with Javier Mascherano on building this team if Chris Henderson does, in fact, leave for Atlanta United, which has been heavily speculated and rumored. But it just doesn't feel right, is the best way to describe it. It feels like this is a huge risk with a low reward. Like the reward, high risk, high reward obviously would make sense, but what is the high reward? He hasn't shown you anything yet. So like, there's nothing to really feel optimistic about outside of he was a good player. That's not enough, honestly. That's not enough to get the people excited. 147 caps as an Argentina player. I don't know. I don't feel good about this. I don't feel good about this. I'm not saying he can't. What do you guys think, real quick before we head out? What do you think he has to do in order for this to be considered a success? What does Javier Mascherano have to do to be considered a success at Inter Miami? Where do you think Curtin will go? I think he's going to take a year off. I think he's going to take a year off. He's going to decompress. He's going to just take a break and to see what jobs are available next season. People don't understand Inter Miami is not a small club anymore. Haters going to cry seeing Miami everywhere. It's not a small club. It's definitely a big club. Everybody talks about them. It's definitely the biggest it's definitely the most talked about club probably in North America. I'm not going to call the Miami. I'm going to call them Barcelona U40. Tata decided to leave before the playoffs. Henderson is set to leave. Power struggle since the Barca dude arrived. Possibly. Soccer Daddy says, I don't think Henderson is leaving. I think he is. I think he is going to leave. MLS Cup and one other cup. So Luke is saying that they have to win an MLS Cup and one other championship in order for Javier Mascherano to be considered a success at Inter Miami. That's going to be a tall task. I don't know if they'll be able to do it, but the pressure is going to be on. It's going to be interesting to see what happens as him being the new Inter Miami manager, reported by CL Merlot and Fabrizio Romano. Javier Mascherano will be the next manager of Inter Miami, it seems. Rob says, I have a feeling Messi has a say who Inter Miami hires as a coach. I think Messi has a say in who they hire and who they fire. Inter Miami could always use Campana's DP spot for someone else. I just to think Campana. I think you would say I just don't think Campana is DP worthy. He's not. He's not DP worthy. And they have a new coach. It's going to be an interesting offseason. We will see what happens. It's going to be a fun offseason. And the offseason's not over yet, folks. There's still the MLS Cup playoffs, which start back up tomorrow. There's still a lot of football left. We will see what happens, but the offseason has just began. And we will see what Inter Miami does. We will see where they go. Appreciate you all tuning in. Make sure you like the video down below the stream, share with a friend, subscribe if you haven't already. Like I said, we are 320 subscribers away from 5,000. We are getting close. We will hit that number by MLS Cup final day because of all of you. I appreciate your support. Make sure you hit the little bell notification so you never miss any of my live streams, emergency live streams, and videos. And until next time, guys, I will see you all soon.